Hey friends. So I wanted to come live today in collaborations with Katie and just share straight from the heart with you some thoughts that I have around why am I even doing collaborations? Why am I offering a service on this topic? I am here without a script to speak directly into you. In the last 6 months, it has become abundantly clear to me that I am here to help people run collaborative campaigns. In other words, collaborative projects or events that allow them to get their message out into the world by collaborating with like-minded individuals who share their values and their vision. Why? Why does this even matter? Let's back up a little bit. Okay, so I started my business way back in 2011, and over the years, I tried everything under the sun to gain traction, to find clients, to, let's be real, make money. And the reality is that a lot of this felt very unreachable to me. And I spent many days and many nights and many months really feeling discouraged, deflated, and really asking the question, like, am I all in the wrong? Is there something wrong with me? What am I missing here? And without getting into all the details, it was just this constant feeling of disappointment and watching others seemingly have it so easy while I just seemed to struggle and struggle. So, if we were to fast forward to the year 2021, that's about when I discovered the power of running virtual summits. And I dived into that world full on, ready to learn everything I could learn so that I could figure this thing out, right? Unfortunately, my message and my offer were not necessarily as clear as they needed to be to have a lot of success with that. And then 7 summits later, over about a 2.5 year period, I started to realize something. I realized that the idea of summits was great because let's be real, if you run a summit yourself, you are the one that gets all of those opt-ins, all of those leads, and in theory, it should help you to grow your business. In reality, however, what I discovered was there were so many multiple pieces to this that I had to get right in order for this to truly be successful. And if I'm being brutally honest with you, I only got maybe a small handful of clients out of all 7 summits. My highest reach in terms of opt-ins was 720. My lowest was something like 300 and something. So in reality, those are great numbers if you think about it from the perspective of how hard it is and how much money you have to pay to find those kinds of leads. But there's something else about this. Not all leads are created equal. You can have high quality leads and you can have, let's be real, tire kickers. People who are exhausting that aren't ready to make the commitment to move forward. And what was I doing? I was attracting a lot of those people. So those numbers became irrelevant. So, as I was going through this process each time with new hope for a better next summit, and they were all great in many ways. One thing I will say is that my network grew exponentially. I met some incredible human beings, some of which I call very dear friends today, and I was exposed to the type of leadership that is required to truly be successful in business. But here's the thing. By the time I had done my 7th summit and discovered that my numbers were not increasing, but just the opposite, they were dwindling. And I realized, you know what, I don't even believe in these anymore. You can imagine what that did for me. It really put me in a space of what am I even doing? I thought that I wanted to help people build summits. I thought I wanted to help people build a business online. I thought. But the reality is that as entrepreneurs, we're constantly evolving, right? We're constantly pivoting, we're constantly learning and tweaking and changing to adapt to whatever's going on in the marketplace and in the world. So, fast forward to February of this year, I launched what I called my first ever pop-up event. Now, this is like a mini version of a summit. Literally, I had 6 speakers, that was it. And we did it over one day. Of course, when you think about it from that perspective, you don't get 30 speakers like I did traditionally in a regular summit promoting for me, which brought me a lot bigger numbers. But in that particular event in February, I believe I landed about 160 opt-ins, give or take, and the event itself was successful. But we're always learning. And what I did learn is the event was supposed to run from 9:30 to 4:30. And what I learned in that is that was too long. Nobody wants to sit for that long, unless you're Tony Robbins, of course, there might be a different story. So Fast forward again to just in August recently, last month, I ran a second pop-up event. Again, six speakers, including myself, and it was an incredible success. But here's the thing. When it comes to something being successful or not, really depends what you mean by success. For me, the impact that I was able to create and the value that we were able to give our guests was phenomenal. Did I necessarily pull leads into my world of business? Not necessarily. I certainly did a good job sending people to the different places where they could get more help on, say, marketing, sales, LinkedIn, etc. But what I learned very quickly, actually the next week, it hit me just upside my head. I realized, wait a second, anyone who's hired me to help with collaborations haven't necessarily been people that have opted into my events. They've been the speakers, the podcasters, the people that are already out there running a business that want to make a difference in the world and they need help. Because let's be real, guys, and this is where I really want to unpack the reality of running an event, a collaboration project of any kind. Here's the reality. It's a lot of moving parts. A lot. There's a timeline that must be considered. You need a certain amount of time for promo. You need a certain amount of time for creating your copy, your graphics. You need time to establish a relationship with your potential partner speakers. There's just a lot of moving elements to this, and it can be very daunting and very confusing. And one thing I will say for sure is you fall into that you don't know what you don't know trap. And I had to learn a lot of the things along the way that would essentially, you might equate them as mistakes or errors along the way that really had me fumbling, trying to like retrieve whatever had fallen apart. And what I want to say is this: collaborations are more important today than ever. Why do I say this? Let me explain it like this. What I've noticed, and others in the online world of business have also noticed, is that numbers of people signing up for things are dwindling. Never mind how many people are showing up in the room, those numbers are also dwindling. But is it any surprise? We're all a little tired. We're tired of attending things and being on the screens. And post COVID, some people are craving that in person connection again, which I get. And I would love to build that coming sometime in the future. Can't tell you when for sure. But here's the reality. You could be having a monthly masterclass or a monthly workshop or even a quarterly event, and feel free to share it in the comments if you like. Are you struggling to fill the room? That is a very real and painful thing that is becoming more and more common nowadays. And it's nothing to do with you, obviously, but the conversion numbers have dwindled overall. So it used to be when I first started doing summits, the traditional version back in 2021, it was certainly very common for people who did it right to get 1,000 up to 5,000 people opting in for that event. It's virtually impossible to do that now unless you have paid ads or you're a highly visible expert. Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, all of those people that already have huge audiences, right? But if you're just someone like myself who is carving out your place in the online marketplace, it can be very difficult. Enter collaborations. This is why I am so passionate about this. If you think about some of those fearless leaders out there who have made a big difference, going as far back as Martin Luther King, if you could go back to that, he couldn't have done that by himself. Like, in what world do we think that we can do this alone? And then, of course, just last week, today is September 17th, so just a week ago, we lost Charlie Kirk. And it was someone that I personally just really admired and respected deeply. And so it took a huge blow for many of us. It was difficult to process that. But here's the thing. He has left an incredible legacy, whether you agree with him or not. It has moved people all across the globe. But let's not forget, Charlie was amazing as a leader, but do you think for 1 second that he did this by himself? Of course not. Collaboration is how you leverage your voice, your message, so that you can truly make a difference in the world. And when we strip away all the marketing language and we get back to what it is that I do and why I'm so passionate about it, it's exactly that. because I believe with every ounce of my being that every single one of us has a unique calling on our lives. Every single one of us is gifted, talented, comes from certain experiences for a reason. And the problem that we're faced with in the world is so many things try to dim our voices. It may be that it's socially unacceptable, or it may be that our partner doesn't support us, or our friends might think we're crazy, or the reality of being dismissed, rejected, judged. All of those things keep so many of us quiet. We stay in our little bubble, myself included. I've been guilty of this 100,000%. And what I know to be true is when I get out of my own way and I align myself, link arms with others in this space who are equally passionate about helping, in my case, entrepreneurs get their voice and their message out to the masses, I am all aboard. I will go to the ends of the earth to support people with that. And so why do all this, Katie? See, here's the thing. We're here for such a short amount of time, really, in the large scheme of things, right? 100 years is a very short period of time. And do you really want to just go to your grave filled with regrets of what you did not do? And for me, I realized in my own business that going it alone for, gosh, 12 years was not only a miserable failure in the sense of not finding more clients, not getting exposure, not being out there, not stepping into my leadership. The reality is that once I started to link arms with others out there, my message got out more. And it's still growing. And it's not at the end of the day, let's call this what it is. It's not about me, nor is it really about you. But you need a mechanism, you need a way to be able to get that God-given message and mission. You need to give it life, you need to bring it out into the world. And that's why I'm so passionate about collaboration, because if you can find people who will get behind it with you and you all do your part to bring this message out, think again of Charlie Kirk and what he's accomplished. It's incredible. And it did not happen by someone doing something all by himself. No, he was more connected than most people in all the ways. And that doesn't make him a better or more superior human than any of us. What it does do, though, for me at least, is it makes me ask myself the question, what am I doing today to make this world a better place? Because if I'm just sitting here creating beautiful Canva designs behind the scenes and hiding, that's not actually leaving an imprint in the world that I want to leave. I don't want to check out of this life looking back going, why didn't I? I want to leave feeling like I used every ounce and every drop of my passion, my purpose, my zest for life. Collaborations, especially in business, are absolutely essential. In my mind, they're absolutely non-negotiable because if you keep doing the things that you're doing all by yourself, you're going to notice that the attendance in your rooms dwindle, unless of course you put money into paid ads. But otherwise, the struggle seems to be getting harder because we need, and this is where collaborations in my world fit in. It's not about growing your numbers. It is, that's a default though. That's not the absolute objective. One of the reasons I did not like traditional summits anymore was because it was all pre-recorded content. There was no live human interaction. And for me, we can't skip that anymore. We need connection more than ever. So when I'm helping my clients build those collaborative events, I tell them you can have pre-recorded segments if you want, but you absolutely must have a live component. And you absolutely must have your audience not only feel seen, but also heard. And it must be a two-way experience. It cannot be ego tripping on a stage. It has to be creating a really powerful, transformational experience that moves people, that shapes people, that gets them doing something different that they've never done before to change their reality, to change their impact. It's a domino effect. I mentioned it in my video the other day, we're creating tidal waves, not little tiny ripples, but when you collaborate, you're creating like tsunami waves of impact. Please understand that collaborations is no longer something we can just consider over here as a possibility. If you're serious about building a powerful business that has an incredible impact for good, by the way, for good in the world, if you want to contribute to something negative, I don't think I can align with that. But if you are here with a mission and you have a voice that needs to get out there and you feel it in the depths of your soul like a fire in the pit of your stomach, we need to give that life. So I hope that this video has truly explained to you that this isn't just a marketing ploy. This isn't just another strategy to grow your business. It is a strategy, sure. But I'm telling you, you can continue doing what you're doing in your business. You need a way to join forces to create a bigger impact because this world that we're living in today, it needs you. It needs your voice. It needs your message. And I'm telling you, as somebody who believes in a God who is actually creating us for a purpose, that He needs you to step up. He needs me to step up. We get to show up in the world more powerfully than ever before. And collaboration is one incredible thing that we can use to make that possible. So thank you very much for listening to me, to my story, to my passion. And I pray and I hope that you can see now why collaboration isn't just another nice to have. It's an essential because doing life alone was not how we were created. And so doing business alone is definitely not an effective way to be successful in the world by creating a beautiful impact and changing lives for the better. I'll see you next time on Collaborations with Katie.